This is going to change everything, as Brad Garlinghouse just revealed some shocking information about their business and just how confident they are in their Ripple v SEC lawsuit. And what's so interesting about the information that he shared is that not only does it create for an environment where we could potentially have an XRP ETF in the near future, which will really open up the floodgates for institutional money to flow into XRP through a spot ETF in the United States in a regulated manner. But even if that didn't happen, what he shared proves that at the end of the day, it doesn't even matter. So not only will we be covering what Brad Garlinghouse just shared and keep it short, sweet, to the point, but we'll also be sharing a bit of research from MITRE that talks about the US dollar, emerging technologies, geopolitical risks, and the future of the financial systems, something that XRP and Ripple know a bit about. I'll also be covering a unique report from the Bank of International Settlements that they did to the G20 countries just this October on asset tokenization in the context of money and how that would affect the business model over at Ripple. How the team over at Ripple already has their eyes set on building the infrastructure for asset tokenization today and tomorrow. And of course, we'll be talking about the recent price action on XRP, what to look out for, and whether or not we're actually going to get a bull run through the end of the year. So if you're feeling blessed and bullish, comment 777. And if you're going to be the wealthiest person in your family tree, smash the subscribe button. Hello and welcome back to the Bull Runner channel. My name is Paul for anyone that is new, and we're going to dive right into what Brad Garlinghouse recently shared that is actually quite a revelation. Now, a lot of people keep up on the case. We've covered it consistently, the case v SEC and how XRP is not a security. He's definitely going to share that here, and it's definitely exciting to hear it directly from his mouth, because not only does it provide confidence for investors, but it provides confidence for institutional players as well. In other words, it really opens up the doors for a potential XRP ETF, and that's going to be tremendously bullish for all markets. But let's listen to what he shared that is actually kind of a revelation, considering we haven't really had too much data surrounding their legitimate business model outside of the XRP token.
They went after Ripple, suggesting that, all kinds of things, everything we were doing was selling an unregistered security. And the judge really very clearly said, sales through exchanges, not a security. When it's used for compensation, not a security. When it's used for incentives around the overall XRP ecosystem, not a security. So, we have already moved a lot of our activity, and frankly, 95% of our customers are non-US. So a lot of our activity has been outside the US jurisdiction because that's where our customer demand is. But I think that's where the US is losing. And I think what the SEC has been trying to do is to put power and politics over what is really just sound policy and providing clear rules of the road such that entrepreneurs and investors can participate in this amazing new market around crypto and blockchain technologies.
Now, what Brad Garlinghouse shared is quite interesting. The fact that 95% of their business is outside of the United States. That's not something we've really had a stat on in the past, but it definitely provides confidence for us in the fact that even if things don't go as well as we want them to with the SEC, it's kind of over for them already, considering XRP itself is not a security. However, it is nice to know that they still want to play ball in the biggest market in the world. When you consider that the United States forecasted GDP is $29 trillion by 2024, or the end of 2024, and the next closest competitor is China at $18 trillion. Now, what's really unique and interesting is that the third player is a measly 4.7 trillion, and that is Germany. So yes, you do want to win in the States, and yes, having complete and total regulatory clarity in the United States is a huge win. XRP isn't a security. However, when we do finally win this case, and it seems they have already won, it seems that Brad Garlinghouse knows something that most people don't, and now he's very confident to talk about it in this manner. But it's the fact that they're truly going to be seeing an XRP spot ETF here in the near future, likely in 2025. But let's take a listen to what Brad Garlinghouse shared on Fox Business about the ETF.
Now, and back then, y'all didn't have that loud a voice.
For sure.
It feels like you do now. So what about an XRP ETF? You were speaking at the Consensus 2024 conference just a week ago, and
Right.
you said inevitable, not just for XRP, but Solana and Cardano, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
But XRP in particular, the SEC has tried to throw you down in court.
Yeah.
Don't you think that Gensler and company might just say, no, that one, no way?
I think it's a hard argument with them to win. I mean, can they make life difficult? They've made life difficult for a lot of people, then they've lost in court. What I was talking about at the Consensus Conference last week in Austin was that people don't want just exposure to one commodity. So if you have exposure to gold, you might want exposure to silver. If you have exposure to other commodities. And so to me, it only makes sense. You don't want to have just a single threaded asset exposure. So I think people also forget that it wasn't that long ago, before the SEC got involved, that XRP was the second most valuable digital asset. And that was before the SEC kind of anointed ETH. Then they couldn't answer the question, is ETH a security or not? And now they've approved the ETF. They contradict each other. It's very contradict themselves. It's very difficult to follow.
Let's not assume that all our investor audience. Let's not assume that all our investor audience understand what XRP is. XRP is the token or the coin that Ripple, which is a money transaction site, right, that is charged, right?
Yeah.
You get paid in XRP, but it's become something that people can also buy whether they use the Ripple blockchain, right?
Correct. So XRP is a digital asset, not that dissimilar than Bitcoin or ETH. There's different characteristics of each asset. Bitcoin has really become digital gold and has thrived because of that. ETH, there's a lot of excitement around the smart contracts capabilities. XRP is extremely fast on a per transaction basis and extremely inexpensive. People talk about gas fees and transaction costs of some other tokens. Ripple uses XRP as part of our technical stack to do cross-border payment flows.
And you charge whoever is moving the money,
Correct.
what, 0.00001 of XRP, which stands around 51 cents or something right now. But here's my question. Right now, the main competitor in that space is SWIFT. That, of course, is the Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Transactions. That's the global one that a lot of people use. They charge much more, do they not?
Yeah, they really are the dominant. I mean, SWIFT has been around for, 50, 60 years. And the frustrating part for all of us as users of SWIFT is that it really hasn't changed in 50 or 60 years. The architecture of how it works, it means it's slow, it's expensive, and frankly, it's quite error prone. Some studies have shown that about 6% of all SWIFT attempts to wire a SWIFT transaction end up in errors that bounce back, and then it takes days to get it back.
What about you guys?
Well, an XRP transaction and a payment flow for us is really real time. It's instant, it's cross-border, and the really powerful thing for a lot of our customers is they don't have to pre-fund accounts, because our customers are financial institutions. And the way SWIFT works is you're pre-funding, you have dormant capital sitting in other banks around the world. Using XRP, using RippleNet, our payments network, you don't have to pre-fund.
Which leads us perfectly into this report directly from MITRE, titled The US Dollar, Emerging Technology and Geopolitical Risk. Now, just a quick bio on MITRE. It's a federally funded research and development center, which has advised the government for over 60 years on complex issues related to technology and public policy. And in this report, they're basically stating that China and other nations are capitalizing on emerging technologies such as blockchain and CBDCs to challenge the US dollar's traditional leading role. Without strong US leadership and steps to secure our edge, these systems could undermine the US national and economic security by reducing the central role of the US dollar and related banking infrastructure. And their goal is basically to bypass the US dollar and our banking infrastructure altogether, which would reduce their reliance on the US dollar and avoid enforcement of sanctions, which is a huge part of our economic war machine that allow the US dollar and the US to consistently win. But they would avoid sanctions and mechanisms to monitor transactions such as SWIFT. Now, we just talked about SWIFT. SWIFT is one of the largest, most widely used financial messaging systems for international transactions. One of the major competitors to SWIFT would be Ripple. Now, I know a lot of people have theories surrounding whether or not SWIFT is really using Ripple technology, but at the end of the day, they are currently not. We've done a lot of research on the channel. It's a lot of conjecture, but Swift right now wants to compete in this game. However, they are far more expensive, as Brad Garlinghouse just mentioned. And this report is basically asking that Swift really move the ball forward here. But sometimes old or ancient technology just isn't enough. And no matter how much they try to innovate, they will never catch up to Ripple, which is why it's so important for Ripple to really step in and take a leading role among G20 countries and financial infrastructure, so we don't lose the global race from CBDCs to BRICS nations avoiding sanctions, creating their own blockchain and crypto systems. I mean, in this article, they even state that China has created a Swift Rival, which is a cross-border interbank payment system, which is, as of May 2024, included more than 1,500 participants in 115 countries. In other words, what they really want out of this report is to urge the G20 countries and the US leadership to hustle on stablecoin regulations. Again, when we think about stablecoins, where is Ripple at in virtually every single one of the things that we talk about in these videos? They have the technology for just about everything. And now they're introducing the RLUSD stablecoin, which will be 100% collateralized and backed by US dollars and bonds. So now, as long as we get a regulation or a bill surrounding stablecoins, I think Ripple stands to win. As in this article, they're basically indicating that stablecoin legislation should be introduced within 90 days of the next administration, positioning new regulations to roll out as early as January of 2025. And I think if that did happen, there would be a boom in cryptocurrencies and stablecoins and for XRP. And it's all like a whirlwind at once, because now we're also looking at the BIS and their report they just put out this October on asset tokenization. Now, it's no secret that Ripple already has the technology to tokenize real-world assets and do it better than virtually anyone else in a regulated manner. This market, which is currently sitting at about $3.5 billion, is projected to reach $16 trillion by 2030. And yes, Ripple has built the tech to do that. So without boring you to death and going through this 40-page report, we're just going to cover the conclusion really quick. The Brazilian G20 presidency has asked the Bank of International Settlements and the CPMI to examine the meaning of tokenization in the context of money and other assets, and how to envision a tokenized environment that builds on the best attributes of the current monetary and financial system. Basically, what they're stating is we need to modernize our old financial system, because otherwise we're going to lose in this race to nations like China, who are going to bypass sanctions. Second, tokenization is an increasing efficiency due to a built-in programmability and composability of transactions and process automation and data reconciliation within a shared ledger. You know what that all means? It's just a fancy word for blockchain. We need a good blockchain to do this. Well, guess which company has that and does it better than anyone else? Obviously, Ripple. Finally, they talk about a third consideration, which concerns identifying token arrangements that may already or potentially in the future meet the criteria to be subject to regulation, supervision, and oversight at the individual jurisdiction level. Again, something that now Ripple and XRP are going to have complete and total clarity on by 2025, considering already XRP is not a security. So it really just comes down to the fact that people just want this case to be over and for Ripple as a company to move on. So yes, things are actually looking really good for Ripple, especially moving into this new year where we're probably going to get a spot ETF. We're going to start to get more adoption from the institutional level. We're going to see asset tokenization. We're going to see a stable coin. We're going to see major players like Swift try to keep up with companies like Ripple. And we're likely going to see the price start to pop off. But as things stand, we had a nice little ABC retrace. This is kind of like an Elliott wave theory pattern. However, I'm not really counting all of the waves, considering it is a very complex theory. What I do notice, though, is that we did get a sell-off right here at 56 cents, and the recent low is sitting at about 52 cents. However, when you look at the volume on this one candle, I do believe we are at a local low. When you put it on a daily time frame, we did, and I'll just remove that drawing, we did fail to break above that 56 cent range, but now we're back in a range where things look pretty healthy and hot for a buy. Now, this is not exciting price action, considering the fact that we've been in this range now for 20 days, almost all of October. It's also not exciting when you see volume is extremely weak through here. The good news is, as volume has declined, so has the price. In other words, the sell pressure right here really isn't that strong. As As you can see, it's indicated by these little small sell bars. In other words, I would just consider this a retrace, and it's retracing likely because Bitcoin also sold off from October 20th through the 23rd. But what I find so interesting about the current price level that we are at and why I believe it's an accumulation zone is because when you pull up a VRVP, as you can see right here, okay, the major range of volume or resistance that we're going to have to be is about 61 cents up to 64 cents. However, we are currently at a major support zone right here. Now, when you have these cliffs like this, okay, this basically means that this is where a lot of volume is traded. This is where a lot of volume is traded. Whenever you get these little areas right here or these conclave type patterns or like a reverse C shape, basically this means whenever price really breaks through this range, it moves right through to the next major range of volume because not much volume or interest is happening right here from 59 cents down to 53 cents. So typically when you start to play in these ranges, you're good to go. This is a good place to start to accumulate. Considering even when I pull the price action back further, you can see we have a boatload of support right here and actually far less trade volume down at the 37-cent range. So right now is a great time to accumulate. And if we break above the 62 to 64 cent range, we're flying straight to 74 cents. Anything above 74 cents is likely going to take us to that $2 range and likely a new all-time high. However, I'm going to be buying more XRP here at this 52-cent range. I think it's a phenomenal buy zone. And if you're going to be loading up on XRP and want to learn how to become a crypto millionaire through 2024 into 2025, then go ahead and go to bullrunners.com. Link is in the description or the bio below. You can also find it in the very first pinned comment from the Bull Runners. Make sure it's the pinned comment from us because there are scammers down in the comments. However, when you go to bullrunners.com, you can join our early bird list for exclusive altcoin picks, market analysis, and early access to our crypto education inner circle. Now, here's what's so important. Okay, this is truly an inner circle. We are going to try to be live and consistent with as many of you as possible, but we can only service so many people. We can answer so many questions before it's overwhelming. We're likely going to have to cut off that inner circle at some point in time, which is why it's so important for you to head to bullrunners.com and subscribe sooner rather than later, because the people that do sooner are going to get access first. And what we're going to do is we're going to do it in droves. So it's going to be like, section A or group A, group B, group C. And at some point in time, we're going to have to cut it off because there's just too many people and we can't provide the level of service that we would like. So that said, sooner the better. Go to bullrunners.com. I look forward to seeing you on the other side. If you enjoyed the video, like the video, it helps us out, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.